Hey guys, what's up? And welcome back to another episode of the Birdy Num Num podcast. Really excited to have this week Sandhya Shekar, a makeup artist you may have seen on Instagram, on YouTube, in the magazines, if anybody still reads magazines. She is awesome. She just came back from New York a few weeks ago talking about that, but mainly in this podcast episode, we talk about the life of a makeup artist, how to succeed. It's not what you think. It's actually a lot of hard work. And we had a great time exchanging stories about being creative and honing your skills, which again is one of the points of listening to this podcast. So go ahead, like, rate, review. I'll see you guys next week.
Wait a minute. Hear this.
Birdy num num. Hello. Birdy num num. Birdy num num.
Okay, hello. What's up, everybody? And welcome back to another episode of the Birdy Num Num podcast. The BNN going well. Hello. I have a guest this week. As you all know, I do a guest every other week. Welcome, everybody. Welcome, Sandy, to the show. Everyone give it up for Miss Sandy Shekar, everybody.
Sandhya Shekar.
Sandhya Shekar. I call her Sandy because we're friends, but Sandhya Shekar, everybody. How are you?
Very good.
Good.
Happy to be here in this hot seat, privileged seat, sorry.
Happy to be here in this privileged seat. The Birdy Num Num podcast, by the way, is doing very well, I must tell you. We have a lot of listeners as of now. So, and by that, I mean over 100. So, Sandy, thanks for Sandhya, but Sandy, I'm going to call you for this.
Yeah.
Thanks for doing this.
Thank you for having me.
I am very excited to have you. For those of you who may not know Sandhya, which one do you prefer?
Sandy.
Sandy, okay. You guys can call her Sandy. She's your friend. Don't worry. So Sandy has been a friend of mine for years, and she is also somebody who the acronym, I believe, on Instagram is MUA, which is makeup artist.
Yeah. Makeup and hair.
Makeup and hair.
MUAH.
MUAH. Moi.
Mwah.
Moi. Wow, I am not the first idiot to make that joke, I'm sure. But so Sandy is a makeup artist, hairstylist,
Yes.
literally employee of the stars. Yes, can we say that?
Not really.
Works with the stars in a
Works
lot
with
of
the
stuff.
stars.
Works with the stars in a lot of stuff in the makeup space, and is also. You are originally from Mangalore?
I am originally from this small town called Udupi, which is in Mangalore.
Okay.
Manipal, I think people are more familiar with. So, yeah.
Okay.
I'm from Udupi. Yeah.
Okay, wonderful. So Sandy, getting straight to it. I feel so weird because we're friends. But I have my radio voice on with you right now.
I know. It's like, okay. And I'm trying to be formal, but yeah. Okay.
I'm like, tell me about your background, even though I already know. Yeah. So I do this podcast where once in a while I interview people and I ask people, to kind of give some lessons on their experience and stuff.
Right.
So just to kick us off for our listeners, how did you kind of get where you are today? You don't have to give me the whole, I was born into a da-da-da, but how did you end up professionally, where you stand today?
I think my journey started in 2005.
Okay.
I used to be with Yes Bank as a banker. I got bored of my corporate job, and
That's the theme of our podcast, by the way. After corporate, come into this seat
Yeah.
when you do something different. But go on. Yeah.
So I think what next? And I think I was in Bangalore back then, and I was exposed to the idea of makeup artists being a professional job, and I was always drawn towards makeup early on into childhood, but I never really knew the commercial aspect, or I didn't even know that it existed as a job. I just knew that there were beauty parlors and, people went there and got ready for the wedding. So my first two people who I met was Sitara, who was one of the leading stylists in Bangalore, and Prabhat, who was a hair and makeup artist back then.
Okay, what are their full names?
Sitara Kudige and Prabhat Gamagga. He
Okay.
is in Sri Lanka now. He's moved back.
Okay.
So they were doing shoots, and whatever I'd heard about the whole industry was through them. And I was like, it sounds fascinating. And when I quit my Yes Bank and I was like, what next? I was like, maybe I should just jump into this and train and see where it takes me. And honestly, initially when I started, I was not even that ambitious in terms of I want to go, work with the stars and none of that. I was like, maybe I can make some amount of money to
do this professionally.
Yeah, do this professionally. Or not even that. It was more like I can take care of my rent and this and basic necessities by doing 1 or 2 bridals a month, or like a few bridals a month. So
Bridals
that was
meaning working weddings, basically.
Yeah, working weddings. I mean, my ambition was like that low at that point, but I just wanted to quit this corporate job that I was in. And, so that's where it's all started. So I initially trained with Prabhat in Bangalore, and then I went to Bombay, studied under this other guy called Nahush. He had this 1 month course that I underwent. I went to London School of Beauty and Makeup. After that, came back to Bombay, started basically assisting. And I think that's where it all started. And, assisting. And I think after 8 months, I had my first independent job. That was with MTV. I did some...
and what year is this, roughly?
This was 2005. Yeah.
This all happened in 05?
Yes.
From London to quitting Yes.
Right, yeah.
She said no to Yes Bank is the joke that I wanted to make for the last 4 minutes, but I couldn't. But yeah. Okay.
Did I break your flow?
No. I was like trying to hold my lame laughter inside. Yeah. So within a span of 12 months, you said no to Yes Bank, and then you basically started working with people, got some mentors, asked around how to make this a thing, got a couple of weddings, and then went to London, all within 12 months?
Yeah, so most of the courses that I did was all like a 2 week or a one month. So these were not, and I was still kind of figuring out if I kind of liked it, or if I could do this thing professionally. So so the first course was about 2 weeks, and it was like a month and a half, and then another month, and then I came back, I assisted, and then, I think in 8 months' time, I got my first gig, and I was still assisting. And I think with our job, another thing which is very important is that I kept studying every year, which is, again, short-term courses, but it's very, very, very important. Okay. So even till date, even though I've been around for 10 years now, I still go and do an updation course every year, or sometimes even twice a year, which could be in the form of a masterclass. It could be in the form of short courses, which is like 2 weeks, or anything spanning from 1 day to like 3 days or 5 days. So I still do that. Yeah.
Okay. So I want to take a step back really quick. And I one thing you said that I really, really liked, which was basically that so obviously everybody sees the end result now. And, I've been looking at your Instagram rise over the years, like you're killing it on social media. And, one of the things was, it's like, to the outside observer, it's like, wow, in comedy world for me, it's like, wow, he did this show with this big comedian. Or in your world, it's like, wow, she's a Bollywood makeup artist for this person or this one's wedding or whatever. But when you said it, just like, that was never my plan. It just sort of happened because I was doing my thing.
Right.
I feel so many people don't realize that. Even with comedy, I was just doing comedy in bars and restaurants, and then so-and-so and so-and-so says, hey, so-and-so is going to be in town. Why don't you come and be a part of that?
Yes.
And I think so many people get caught up in like, if I become a guitarist, I'm not valid until I play with Guns N' Roses, or in makeup until I'm in that Bollywood scene or movie or whatever. And it's like, no, you need to be in the industry, working in the industry, getting your chops and stuff, and then going from there.
Right.
So all in, and then the second thing I wanted to ask you was, because this is super fast, and most of the people that I speak to are like, I was in Wipro or Accenture, and then over the course of 2 years, I gradually phased out and then did my app or my startup or my book or whatever.
Right.
Overnight, you were just like, I'm out of here? Or you took like 6 months to kind of leave Yes Bank?
I think I had 3 months of notice period that I had to serve.
And how long were you at Yes Bank?
I was there for about a year and a half.
A year and a half, and they want 3 months notice
period. So that was, I pretty much did nothing. I was like thinking about how I'm going to convince my parents. And I initially wanted to do the London thing right after that, but I think somehow that didn't happen till I got support from my sister who lived there, and she's like, come do it, I'm going to kind of take care of you. So all that happened. But so 3 months of that, then I went home for 2 months, and I think I used that 2 months to pretty much convince my parents, because my parents were like, you're going to be a beautician,
like face painting, or like
and
like
I remember
like
this
that,
and their exposure to the job of being a makeup artist was pretty much this person who did my when you have school day, like that one day where people come and paint,
and they blush you up.
Yes.
And, yeah.
So their thing was like, somebody who comes and does that. And there was this very famous guy back in the village, and it was like, oh, are you going to be that person?
Yeah.
Like, you know, and I was like, no, not that, but, you know, something like that. Then they were like, oh, you're going to be a beautician. And, you know, you're going to have a salon, or you're going to thread, or you wax. And I was like, no, none of that. So I think almost for about 2 years, my parents really didn't know what I was doing until they saw my work finally come on TV and on magazines and things like that. I think that's when they kind of understood what it was. Or the other extreme end of it was like, she's going to get into the big bad Bollywood industry. And they're like, we're going to
lose our daughter or something to this
and
big
you know,
machine.
she's going to be exploited. I don't know what men are going to do to her. But honestly speaking, that's another thing. It's like this myth about our industry is that it's not safe for women. I think I've never felt any more safer. In fact, I feel corporate is far more worse for women as opposed to, like, you know, being in that industry. And it was fabulous. And it just, like, you know, no one really kind of doesn't even like look at you until and unless it's you know, you put them into that place or whatever.
Yeah.
But yeah.
No, I think that I agree with you completely. Corporates, because people in corporates are operating with a lot less notoriety.
Right.
So, for example, you know, no one ever is going to end up in the, I mean, they might and they shouldn't do it, but you're not going to end up in the news of, you know, some random guy at Citibank was misbehaving, and obviously he should not do that. But I'm saying, I feel like in Bollywood, not that guys are generally proportionally scum across the world, but in certain industries where, you know, you're used to operating at a certain level, I agree with you. It probably is safer in some way, despite what we hear in the news on a day-to-day basis.
True.
Yeah. So, your parents did not give you the quintessential, how dare you quit the finance industry? They did.
I mean, they did. I mean, they were like, are you crazy to let go of that salary and then, you know, struggle and get into something that you really don't know where you're going to.
And that journey was about a 3-month back and forth with them while you went to London and all that?
3 months. I mean, 2 months was more of a convincing period that I took. I was there physically saying, I want to do this. And they were just like, no, we don't get this. And it was on my birthday, in fact.
Still 2005?
2005, yes.
Okay.
And I remember that I was just like, I'd kind of given up, and I was like, I'm not going to listen to them.
Yeah.
And I walked out on my birthday, which is June 11th.
This is so dramatic.
So dramatic.
Full Bollywood flair.
Full Bollywood, yeah. So I remember my sister having this cake, and I'm like, I'm going. And, you know, I had my tickets booked, and I just like walked out, and my mother was screaming, crying, I don't know for what. And I was like, what am I doing? Like, you know, I'm just going to pursue something that I really want to do. And I just questioned myself, am I doing the right thing or wrong? And it was like, there's nothing seems to be wrong. Let me just go ahead. And worst come worst, it's like, I'm going to take whole responsibility in terms of, you know, doesn't work out, I go back to my MBA, look for another job, and we're done. Yeah. So yeah.
No, that's the beauty of the Indian way, because you still have a backup. You can still go back to banking a year behind your promotion cycle or whatever. Okay. Now, before I move on, one final question about kind of your beginning stage is, I don't know much, admittedly, about your industry, about makeup and, you know, expanding on that, hair and fashion and that sort of things. But specifically with makeup artists, and I know right now with YouTube, there's a whole like micro industry of people who are killing it, and Instagram, as you are digitally. With makeup, is it kind of like you were always good at applying makeup to yourself or your friends, and then you're always known in your circle of friends as the one who's really good at it, at contouring or like whatever the
highlighting?
I don't know what highlighting is. I know contouring. For our listeners who are more like me, contouring is, correct me if I'm wrong, it's the way the light kind of bounces on your face to look like it's not makeup, but it is makeup. Is that
no?
Okay.
So
damn it. Yeah. All right. Okay.
Almost there, but it's contouring basically is when light falls on your face, and then there is a shadow and, you know, light pattern that happens. So all the darker areas is which kind of makes you skinnier. So you put a darker color, and that becomes your contour.
Oh, I like that. Okay. I need that.
More technical.
So can contouring get rid of somebody's dark circles or something? Or
no.
It's more about kind of giving the structure and stuff?
Yeah. So that you technically want to bring that out, so that'll be more like a highlighting technique that you use. So wherever light hits your face, that's this portion, you bring that out. The rest of it you kind of try to pull it in so that you look more chiseled.
Okay.
You don't need it.
I don't know if I think all the girls are like, it's so easy, you fool. Like all the girls listening to this are like, how do you not know what contouring is? And I was like, okay. So is that true though, what I asked earlier? You were kind of the person in your circle who had a knack for makeup initially?
Yes, I did a lot of makeup on myself growing up. In fact, I think back when I was 3 or 4, I had this watercolor palette, and I used to stain my lips and cheeks with beetroot. I used to use these other colors because I didn't have access to my mom's makeup. So I did have a knack of doing like a very subtle, like a no makeup look on myself, and I always got appreciated for it. Even back in college, I think, or even like growing up, I always did it on other people.
Okay.
And every time I saw a face, and I was like, this girl is pretty, but she needs to be doing this. And I had this
like weird internal calculation.
Yeah, and I'm like, I'm pretty much doing her makeup, and she should be doing this, and she could be so much better, So I think it all started there. And then when I was at Yes Bank, every time I flipped a magazine page or something, I used to see some really bad work of like, it's bad images and bad makeup and bad hair jobs. And I was like, and I think that was a point when I was also kind of doing that switch. And I was like, maybe if I learned it, I think I would do a better job, like learned it professionally.
Let me put my money where my mouth is. And instead of saying all these guys suck, could I potentially do better or worse or whatever? Okay.
So it was one of those. And I think one of the things that also worked for me was my sister's wedding, which happened in Bombay, and we got a professional to do it.
And is your sister also in this sort of industry?
No, she's a counselor.
She's a counselor.
Yeah.
Okay.
So when a professional came, did her makeup, she looked gray. So
great or gray?
Gray, like Grey.
She looked gray. I mean, like a pale ghost or something?
It's just like, bad makeup. And then I remember telling this makeup artist, please don't, just do her hair for the evening. And I ended up doing her makeup. And I think when the pictures came, she looked far better. And I think these little things just gave me that confidence to pursue it professionally. Yeah. So...
No, that's so great because so many people, there's a quote I heard either from a filmmaker or some other creative, and he was saying that sometimes you get so close to the details that you forget the big picture. And in makeup's case, literally the big picture, meaning, for example, even me with my podcast sometimes and my friends, I'll get so caught up in the technicals of which microphone and, the decibels and all that. And then I forget when I listen to it, that was boring. Like what I just talked about. Yeah. Because I'm so caught up in the details, I forget the actual product. And I've been on a couple of Bollywood shoots myself with Sunny Leone in South Africa. And I remember the makeup guy was so cool. Makeup Dada or Baba. What do they say on Bollywood?
Dada.
Makeup Dada. Yeah.
And hair didis.
Yeah, and hair didis. And this guy is doing my makeup. Super sweet guy. He does a lot of stuff for ZTV and all. But then finally, after like 18 minutes, I looked in the mirror and I was like, oh my, I was like, who is this like metrosexual ghost like looking at me?
Safedi ki chamkar.
Yeah, I was just like, and I was like, dude, even on camera, this is not going to look good. And because I'm not in the industry, I'm thinking, well, maybe he knows for like what you said, the lights, or when I sweat, it'll change. And then sure enough, when it came out, my wife was like, dude, you look like you're going to beg me for money on the side of the road or something. And I was like, I don't know.
I want to see this video. Have you seen it?
It's there. I've not even watched the show. It's been out for like 6 months. Sunny Leone, season 2, Karanjit Kaur. Yeah. What I was getting to is I think people in any industry, when they see something and they know something is off, but they blindly dismiss it like, oh, well, I'm not a makeup artist or I'm not a comedian or a photographer, so I must be wrong. But I love that you were like, no, I think, I have an eye for this and there's something off about it, which a lot of people don't put their money where their mouth is or think, most people just complain on YouTube, not funny, but very few are like, I could do it better and let me go do it better.
Let me do it better. Yeah, correct.
So at your sister's wedding, you did her makeup, and what did the makeup person who she actually paid for do?
Yeah, I mean, she was not obviously happy, but I told her to come do the hair, so she was still getting paid half the rate.
Yeah.
But, she quickly did the hair and she just left, and she was like, but honestly, I mean, she didn't look like herself. And I think for me, it's so important. And I think that's one of the things that I feel happy about today is that the same thing that you were saying, when you saw the mirror, you didn't look like yourself. And that's something that I saw across. And the whole idea of natural makeup didn't exist. I remember even initially when I started off, I started doing this whole minimal thing, and people didn't want to hire me because they were like, oh, that doesn't look like makeup, or it didn't look heavy enough. Or again, I think in terms of like where we are today, we're so behind it in the sense that what America used to be, or where that's where most of the trends and everything kind of starts, or even London or wherever. And I think we're so backward that way in terms of our photography, in terms of our lighting, and a lot of other technical things. And even when I did this whole minimal thing, people didn't really, there were very few people who actually liked whatever I was doing.
Is it? And please continue, but just to interject, because some comments I interrupt too much, so I am aware of it. So are you saying that often by minimal, do you mean, because here's what I assume it to be, that it's makeup that doesn't overly look like makeup. Right. It should look like natural beauty, but obviously there's some makeup.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah. It's pretty much that. So,
okay, so go on. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think that was something that I saw was when I saw somebody in person, in terms of without makeup, they look so much prettier. And then when they had this makeup on, they looked like somebody else. Yeah. And it almost felt like they were masked under something else. And for me, that was not my idea of beauty, or that my idea of doing somebody's face. And that's something that I think there were one person I would say, who I'm a very, very big fan of. Her name is Deepa Verma. I really love her work.
She's a Bombay or
she's
Bangalore?
A Delhi-based makeup artist. And another artist is Anil Chinnappa, who also does Deepika's makeup. So I think these two are the only people who did, that kind of makeup. And and they were already established, and, so obviously they do get hired for whatever they're doing. But I think for somebody to start off doing this kind of work, it was not okay, or at least I was not getting booked that much, or rebooked for the same job, or something was not working out. But I think it was a lot to do with like the style of makeup. They were like, okay, we can't really see the makeup, and it didn't really complement the lighting for a lot of people. So yeah, but I think when there were a couple of photographers that I worked with, some of them were international ones, where when the lighting was softer, and that's when my work really translated. Then obviously when people like Deepika kind of appreciated this kind of whole minimalism, I think that's when a lot of people have started accepting it more. And I hear these days brides wanting to go for like a minimal look, and even some of like, socialites and some of the people who hire you, your non-celebrity or your non-bridal clients, they want the whole minimal look where they don't want too much covering their face. So a lot of my clients, or a lot of my bridal clients who come to me, are the ones who want a very minimal, fresh look where,
sure. Yeah, because it reminds me of another quote I remember from an Australian show I watched, where they're making fun of some valley girl, like, oh, hey girl, like, and she was saying, I love it because you're trying hard not to try hard. Basically, you're right. I mean, I'm sure even the minimal look is still a lot of time and effort, but the idea is not to be, no pun intended, in your face, basically, right?
Yeah.
So would you say this minimal look, is that kind of a trend of the last 3 years, 5 years, 10 years? Did you bring it to India? Were people already doing it? Or is it a gradual?
I think it was, like I said, Deepa and, Anil, they were kind of doing it. Deepa especially, she, like all her work, I pretty much say that, you can put her book across, with any of the international makeup artists, and you wouldn't know that she's from here, because her work is like so much far more superior than what we see over here. And it was already there, but I don't think a lot of people were into it.
We were still kind of into the flashy zone.
Right.
And I love this. This is literally the pun, in your face. Our makeup was in your face, basically.
Actually, yeah. And I think they didn't feel that, or if they paid you a certain amount, they didn't feel that they were getting the value for money.
Because it has to be
I can't see the makeup. Like, it's like, they'd be like, can you just do a little more of this? And, so, but I think it's also awareness. That's something that's changed because of the digital, like your Instagram and everything coming into picture. they see a lot more people in the West doing minimal stuff, and you know, so I think that has definitely kind of increased awareness of a lot of people. So I think it's been a gradual change, but it has happened, or it's also happening. I mean, I wouldn't say it's 100% happened. It's still in the process.
Yeah, I wish, and not I wish, I mean, I'm married now, so I don't care. But my thing I was going to say was, now with Instagram and like you kind of see with memes, especially what guys are really thinking. And like, we're also, it's like, oh, I thought I was the only one who thought that way. And even Buddy, I'm not going to say his real name, our cameraman here, him and I share a lot of memes, you know, some not politically correct, some politically correct. There's a handle I like called, and they have a lot of bad stuff on their handle, but it's called the Tasteless Gentleman, basically. And one of them, it's all about locker room sort of talk and whatever. But there are some funny quirks in there. And one of them is like, guys especially, I don't know why some girls think this. Like when you see the girl at the club and she walks in with like 5 kgs of makeup on her face. No guys are impressed by that. Like, I know you think that, not you, but I know like, just like girls don't care about the guy with the 19 gold chains, Bapi Lahiri types anymore, or all wearing the same. I do Chinese colors now because they're different. but like just like that is yesteryear. Now when I see a girl but when I used to see a girl kind of with those 18 layers, and I think most guys also are like, ugh, like, you know, it's a bit too strong, I feel.
I think yes and no. I feel there's a market for everything, as much as I promote this whole minimalism and all of that, but there's still, you know, actresses and celebrities
of course,
who still kind of, and I'm still talking about like the Kardashians and things like that.
I don't mean
a lot of, I feel there is equal market for both.
I apologize before people get angry. I mean, like, what I'm saying is on the level of, like you were saying, getting more bang for your buck, that if I'm going to spend 50K, 1 lakh, 2 lakhs, whatever, on a makeup artist, it better look like I have 8 kgs of makeup on my face. No, it also better look like it's natural beauty. Like that's also good value for money or whatever, right? Switching gears a little bit, how important is trust, both trust building and initial trust with your clients? Because obviously in an industry like yours, whether it's a bride, a celebrity, somebody one-off who loves your work, like we were saying, right? It's kind of like you were at the Met Gala, which I remember watching all this cool stuff. And as a comedian, my job is to make fun of everybody wearing stuff at the Met Gala, right? And like you were saying, like you need to like trust us to make you look good because we're thinking of photography and all of that. And I was thinking like during the Met Gala, like, dude, because now Bollywood is killing it. Like, wouldn't it be so funny if like a big celebrity just came like as a prank, like with like a dosa on their head or like 2 idlis on their ears, and people will be like, wow, it's so brave. Like, what a brave choice. Or that, but just to like see how far can you push the envelope.
I mean, someone did that, right? Katy Perry came as a burger.
She came as, did she?
Yeah, she did.
Okay, so next year, who are you bringing as a dosa, basically? Like, oh, look at that.
It's already, your idea has been stolen already.
Damn, if somebody goes next year as a dosa, all right? But bringing it back, how important is trust to kind of be like, look, I'm a pro. You've seen my work. Trust me, I will make you look stellar.
It's very important. I think especially if you're kind of, you want to do what you want to do, it's very important to build that trust level. And I think also when somebody books you for a job, they're kind of looking at your work and looking at a particular style that you do, and they're booking you for that. And I think a lot of times what happens is, this happened I think in between, like a couple of years back, where I was still kind of trying to please the client. And, you know, I think we all go through that phase where we're trying to define that line as to when should we, you know, push back. And so I think I've done it very gradually, but I think now I'm in a space where I kind of go with what my gut feels. If I feel that this particular thing is going to look good on this client, it's my job to convince them and reassure them. I think that's something that we do, is like literally feed their ego in terms of, trust me, I know this, I've done this 101 times and this is going to look good. And I think also somewhere strike a balance in between what they are comfortable with. Sometimes what happens is, in a bridal case, girls might not even be wearing makeup like on an everyday basis, or not even occasionally. So this might be just one-off occasion where they're wearing makeup. And to take that girl from not wearing makeup to wearing bridal makeup, it's a lot of like convincing, and it's like, and that comes only with trust. So I think it's super important, and how you do it. I know I've heard of instances where someone's not comfortable with a certain color.
Sure.
Like I know that a lot of girls fear the color red on their lips, though it's as much as you might see it.
Any girls or Indian girls, South Asian girls?
I think mostly Indians. I think they've have this thing of red doesn't look good on me. For me, it's like red looks great universally on every woman. It's just about you need to find the right shade of red. Need to know how to combine it with like, kajal, mascara, whatever, the other things that go with that. So I think sometimes it's like on their, there's always this thing of, should we do this color? And they're like, no, I'm not comfortable. And I know that people have still gone and put that in. And it's about their comfort, about them wearing that makeup for the next 8 hours, 10 hours and being there. And if they're not comfortable, it's like your first level of trust is kind of already like, you've kind of lost the battle right there itself. And I think, somewhere you can push them fully. Sometimes I think you need to come, take that halfway step and, do something what they're also comfortable with. But it's a process, and you need to do it very, very, it's a slow process, and there's no like shortcut or like anything to that. Yeah.
So that made me think basically like, so even if person A or bride A looks amazing with what you're suggesting, for example, the red lipstick or the minimal look or the non-minimal look, whatever it may be, but she's never been in a space where she's been wearing that either on shoots or anything. So she's kind of like Cinderella for a day. There's no point convincing her of that good look if she's not going to carry it well. If she's going to be self-conscious and it's going to show on her face. Is that a fair statement?
Yeah. I mean, I think confidence is so important, and the way you feel once you are fully ready. Classic example is early on I used to get these things where brides would just send me pictures of celebrities, and they'd be like, I want to look like this. It's not even like I want the makeup.
It's like honesty filter. Okay, well, you got more than makeup we got to do. Yeah.
And they'd just be stuck on one particular look, and and obviously I can't tell them that, look, the shape of your eye is very different and it might not look good. I cannot go that way, but I have to be a little more milder and be like, maybe this might not work, and then maybe we can take one element of this and do this. And that's the way how I'd go about with them. But yeah, you also get that extreme type where you're like, point blank, I want to look like this. And taking them from there and making them look their best version is so much more important than just being like, okay, I can do it, but you're going to look like a clown.
Yeah. So have you had, because I was watching that Made in Heaven on Amazon. Oh, what a show that was. I was watching it right after my wedding. So I was in that space, right?
Nostalgic about.
Yeah. And nothing against you, but during my wedding, I hated our makeup artists. They were amazing, but I hated them because we relate to everything. And by that,
I would have hated you.
You know what I mean? Like we literally, and 300 people are waiting in a ballroom, and we're 10 minutes late. Okay, half an hour late.
Right.
And I'm like, we're spending like a lakh freaking every 5 minutes on this party, or like whatever it is.
Yeah.
And the makeup, she was a great girl, Rimi, and she did an amazing job, obviously, if she's watching this. But I was like, take your freaking pictures later. We need to get our ass to the ballroom. There's 90 million photographers. Okay. But she's like, no, so do you do that also for all your clients, or do you just take what's there?
No. So I'm actually, when it comes to pictures, I think for me, I wouldn't do that, because for me, it's like, I'm very time bound like that.
Yeah.
So if I tell a client, you have to be seated on my chair at this exact time, I also sometimes get really pissed off when
if they rush or they're
if
late.
Because I think what I do is I account for every minute. So I take about, usually when I'm getting a bride ready, it's about 3 hours that I ask for from her. So 2.5 hours to get her ready, to make sure that everything is secure for the next 8 hours. So even if they're late by like 5 minutes or 10 minutes, and I give them a list of things to do, like your clothes, your jewelry, it needs to be set in these order. And even if they're late, then which means that, relatives coming and knocking at the door saying that, is she ready? Is she ready? And that kind of breaks our flow. And, so I think time-wise, if I do have the time, we do pictures and there are photographers who come do the pictures. I do, a little bit of it, but I'd never stand up or hold up a bride and a groom because I need to take those pictures.
Of course. Yeah. So before we move on to some juicy stuff, which I'll give you some time to think about, because my main question I want to ask you in a minute is like, wedding or cool Bollywood Hollywood gig, what's a better gig in terms of stress and time management and all? But before that, just to give you... how important is it as a makeup artist to either have some bit of photography knowledge or to work hand in hand with the photographer to make sure things come out? Because plenty of great makeup people have, and your partner is a photographer. Yes, I know. So look up his work. It's amazing, by the way. Our cameraman is laughing because he knows them both. Yeah. How important is to have some bit of in sync with the photographer? None or a lot or somewhere in the middle? I
think very important, especially if you're kind of planning to get into like the whole shoot business. I mean, bridal, it's still kind of okay because you don't really have much of a say. But if you're planning to pursue it as like want to do shoots and, those kind of jobs, it's very important. Like,
do you take a DSLR when you're doing makeup for the first 30 minutes to see how it's coming out on like a photo?
No, I don't. But I think over a period of time, out of experience,
you trust your eyes.
Yeah, you kind of know what works for what lighting. But that's something that I've kind of learned in the last few years. Even after 10 years, I might not be 100% right. You still put them in front of the camera and then you're like, you tweak it like the first few shots and then you're like, okay, maybe I can just add this in. So it's still a process. I wouldn't say I know it completely, but it is very important just to understand if you're shooting outside in natural light or if you're shooting in like, a still light, or if it's like if the lights are harsh or if the lights are like more cooler, or if it's like more subtle, and so you can always tweak your lighting as per you can always tweak your makeup, or if it's black and white, then the choice of colors that you can go with. So yeah, it's always helpful.
Do you ever have to factor in weather and sweat, or is that not you do have to?
Yes, okay. Very important. I'm giving out a lot of tips to other makeup artists.
I mean, share the wealth, bro.
So the first thing I ask every time when I start their makeup is what their skin type is. If it's normal, oily, whatever, T-zone or combination.
By the way, do guys, not to be gender or whatever, but do guys know this generally? Because I have no idea what my skin type is.
Of course. I mean, guys you touch it, you know it. If
it's skin. I don't know.
I mean, some people have normal. You seem to have a normal skin tone.
Thank you. Yeah. Okay.
Years of
years of the $1 Patanjali
plastic
face
surgery.
wash. Yeah. Okay.
So, and the other thing is I ask is if it's going to be indoor, outdoor. So sometimes when we're doing celebrities, we don't know where, it's going to be. So the event could be either inside a hotel, it could be outdoor. So it's very important to factor in all of that. And then accordingly choose your, your makeup, which is...
Okay, which can then adapt to those situations.
And
the photography.
Right.
Have you ever looked at it, and be honest, have you ever looked at a photo of somebody, whether famous, not famous, early days, later days, yesterday, and been like, I got it wrong with the light or the makeup?
Yeah, definitely.
She was just this morning. Yeah.
I think, I don't know if other artists feel the same, but I think you always, when you look back at your own work, and it just like you always see scope of improvisation.
100%.
And somewhere I do cringe at, some of my old work, because it either could be great makeup but shot badly, or it could be a great shot with, bad makeup, or, I could have done like looking back now, I'd be like, maybe I could have done this. And it's I don't think that thing will ever change. I think even 5 years from now, if I look at something from this year, I'm just going to be like, what did I do? Like,
I love that.
So, yeah.
Because in comedy, we say a joke is never finished. You'll always think, even after it's on Netflix or HBO, you'll be like, oh, now that I have a kid, I could have added this twist or whatever, but you never would have thought it back then.
Back then, yeah.
But that's so nice to hear that you're always pushing yourself to improve even on your old work that was revered by a magazine or whatever. But cool. Now, 2 final questions I want to ask. First one, some masala. Second one, some gyan for the youngsters who are listening. Youngsters. Okay. Bollywood, Hollywood, what's a better gig and why? And take us through, like, you were at the Met or any of these award shows. I'm sure a lot of people who are just getting started, like, what is that experience like? Is it the glitz and the glam, or is it stress and chaos and I never want to do it again? Like,
I mean, chaos is always fun because I think you kind of, for me, I get the best out of myself because you're working under so much pressure, and then, everything falls into place. Bollywood or Hollywood? Honestly, I've not really done a lot of Hollywood, like, gigs or any shoot. Out of 2 or 3 experiences that I've done, I'd say they're a lot more organized and time bound. They respect people's time. As I've already mentioned, that I'm very time bound. I think that's something that's kind of taken here for granted. So I think if that's something that's streamlined here, definitely Bollywood will be there. So purely and another thing is sharing, just basic sharing of information, like, this person is going to be wearing so and so outfit, and I think it's organized that way, so we have some thinking time as well. Whereas here what happens is that lot of times, I'd say about 85% of the time, we get to see the outfit only, say, when we get to the location.
Oh,
yes,
really?
Yes.
And then you've got to, I didn't even think of that. You have to match to the outfit as well.
Yes, and I think so that way, creatively, there's not much that you can really, like, explore. Or I like doing a lot of, like, referencing. I like, using
referencing
that,
meaning showing the client we're going to try to go for a look like this, or
I think
like
not
that,
even showing
or just
the
yourself.
client mentally. Like, I like to be prepared. I like to have about 4 or 5 options, just keeping it open and to see what also sits well with the client, and and what they're feeling, because at the end of the day, they're the ones who are going to be wearing it and carrying it forward from there. So I think it's very important, and I think for me, that's something that if that was kind of sorted, I feel we could have come out with much better looks. And
this is doing like a Bollywood movie versus like a Met thing, you're saying? Or
I don't do movies, so it's mostly like a event, or like commercials are still okay, because commercials, in fact, they do end up sharing, what outfit,
because the client and the agency
is involved, and you need to lock in a lot of things before that. But I'd say more like a award ceremony or like an event, or there would be 3 or 4 options, but we wouldn't know which out of the 4 the person would be wearing. Which I think in Hollywood, it's like everything is organized. It's like they kind of like know everything before.
They'll send you a packet or something that has all the details.
Just a picture is more than enough for us. So for us, it's like almost coming here and turning up, okay, she's wearing this. Sure. Then you have to, like, you have 5 or 10 minutes to kind of think, and while you're setting up, or sometimes you don't even get that time, and then you're like, okay, fine, we're doing so and so. Okay. So I can give them like 1 option instead of like 5.
Okay.
So that's where I feel, Hollywood is a little more organized, and I'd say I'd enjoy that bit of it a little more.
So what is that experience like, though? What I want to get to is it when you go for one of these Met Gala or Oscar or whatever you've gone for, is it you get off a plane and you follow the star and as and when they need you, or you go to your room and you have a 6 to 8 p.m. slot and then you're on standby, or is it like a film shoot? We're sitting in the trailer for like 17 hours waiting until they need you as and when?
So with the Met, so you get there and then we went straight into fittings. I was there a week before, so I was rested.
On holiday, chilling. Yeah. Big Apple, Statue of Liberty, doing all that.
Rested, relaxed. But I think Deepika just flew in, and then she came straight into the fitting. So were the other people.
Fitting is clothing, right?
Sorry?
Fitting means clothing, right?
Yeah,
the
fitting
outfits.
Is outfit.
Yeah.
So
okay.
so she wore the outfit, and then there was a whole like we got to see the outfit for the first time, and then
and you're there basically to build references mentally. You're not actually
Right.
applying makeup yet.
no,
at all. Okay.
no. So we're just having a look, and then I think, so we did like a half day meeting, like, whatever last minute changes had to be done to the outfit, all that happened. We did have a hair makeup, a meeting in terms of how we were going, which direction we were going. And then, then I went on like my makeup shopping.
Okay.
And my call time for the next day was 2 p.m. So I had like the first half of the day, but I was still kind of shopping till about 1 p.m. I was doing
Okay.
makeup shopping for
And no
the
one's
net.
calling you or anything because they trust you'll be there
yeah.
at 2.
So it's
yeah.
like when, and we've been working together for a while now. So, everyone's like turns up on time, and there's never this thing of like, where are you? Are you coming? or any
You
of
have that trust
Yeah,
over like
yeah,
10,
yeah.
50, 100 projects,
Yes.
whatever. Yeah.
So 2 is the call time. We rolled in, started with hair and makeup, and I think she was ready. She was supposed, her slot was I think around 6:30 or something. So she was ready on time. We went in the trailer till about the, where the red carpet starts to do the final touches, and then we were back, and then she finished the whole gala, and I think she was going for an after party. So then we had dinner, went out to a fancy little restaurant close by, came back by the time she was changing for her next look,
And then you have to, okay.
yeah, so it's pretty much how our day goes. Yeah.
So for the novice, because even I like am trying to keep up, but I'm not sure if when you say look, basically it's kind of like, for like a filmmaker, those are your shots or your scenes. So
Right.
this outfit, this event, you're going to do this. Now, if there is an after party, if there is no after party, but they're going to stay at the current party longer, are you still needed
No.
to fix anything? Or they have
Nothing.
somebody that...
No, so I think once they go into for these events, they don't really need someone,
So a
because
6-hour award ceremony, they're on their own.
They're on
basically.
their own. So,
Okay.
and most of these makeup is meant to like, stay for 8 hours, 10 hours. And the weather is great there. So you're
Sure.
not sweating or you're indoors. So it kind of like lasts. So yeah, we're not needed. And if she was not changing, then we just like pack up and go home. So yeah.
Okay, cool. So last 2 quick questions. I know I said that was the last 2, but I thought of one more that I really liked that you had talked about at the beginning of this this podcast, which is you were saying you're really up to date, right?
Right.
And I think to the novice, somebody like me, again, ignorant dude, like, what do you mean? This is not software. Like you're
What is up to
learning a new
date?
programming language. But obviously I've seen a bajillion people on YouTube who are
Right.
milking it and killing it and stuff. So is like you have to really stay up to tune and modern and really on the cutting edge of what does the makeup industry move that fast, or is it?
Yes. So it's shocking because I think I do at least 2 trips to New York every like year, and I'm like shocked by the amount of makeup, like the new brands that come in. And I think more than that, I also do a lot of trade shows, and where the latest of the makeup, I get to see all of that even before it hits a brand. And I'm amazed at the amount of makeup that comes in. So it's simple. Like if I did a smoky eye 2 years ago, I'd use about 6 products, whereas now it would like reduce to like 3 products or 2 products. So that's how much the technology bit of the makeup is changing. And I think because lot more companies are kind of getting into makeup, it's crazy. It's sometimes it's even impossible to keep in touch and stay updated about a lot of products. And honestly, as a makeup artist, I don't even know half the products that exist, which I shouldn't be telling, but that's the amount of products that are around, and it's crazy to even keep a tab on what is coming out every month. But I think at the same time, when you do these trade shows and exhibitions and master classes and different kind of thing, you get to see other makeup artists, you get to see a lot of educators using these products. And for me, that's a great way of like updating my own skills as well as my own product knowledge. And I think for me, that has been very, very important. Even in terms of my growth, like, the whole thing of updating was just not the products, but be also in terms of like skill. I always did short courses, at least minimum one every year. And I think that's something that's contributed to my growth in the last 10 years. And it's put me in this place where I'm in, which technically would take somebody, say, 12 or 15 years or something to reached the place that I am, and I've been super grateful about that. But yeah, it's a lot to do with, you know, the way I've kind of updated my skill set, and as well as, like, you know, product knowledge. So it's a combination of two. And that's very important, because I think a lot of people in India, or at least the established makeup artists, after a point, they get very complacent.
Oh, yes. Thank you.
They get very complacent, and I think they feel that they've arrived, and it's just not the top established ones, but it's also when people start making, say, X amount of money, they feel complacent, and they don't feel the need for pushing themselves to learn something else or to update themselves. And one of the classic case was, I had this masterclass about 2 years ago, and I always went and did these masterclasses internationally, and every workshop, you know, costs a bomb. It's like with your traveling and everything, it's like minimum of, like, you have to spend anywhere between 2 lakhs to like 6 lakhs for like a 1 week, or like, you know, that kind of a thing. So the idea was to bring it down and get a lot more artists, so that people in India could access it. And I produced this whole thing myself, and I did those personal calls to all these artists to come attend it. And I was so shocked at the
attitude and the ego.
Yeah, the ego and the attitude.
Preach on.
Yes,
yeah.
But at the same time, and I think it's interesting, because the only thing they were like, oh, what are the free makeup goodies that we're going to get with this? And I was like, this is, and we were getting the best of, you know, the makeup artists in the country. And for me, it's like, whenever I know that someone's doing a masterclass anywhere in the world, I just pack my bag, block my date, and I just go. Because for me, it's like
FaceTime, and it's invaluable.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then here there were people like, oh, okay, will I get like, you know, what free products will I get? You know, will I get a certificate? Some people didn't even know who these people were. I was like, at least, you know, good thing is you are aware that these people exist now, and you can follow their work. But just the attitude of not wanting to learn, and it was a struggle. I guess I would have called at least about 400 makeup artists personally, and I must have had a chat with them for like half an hour, 45 minutes, and a lot of them didn't really end up signing up for the course. But 2 years, 3 years later, you know, people still send me these notes saying that I'm not doing really well, you know, I don't know what is it, but, you know, and they are in that state because, you know, they don't want to help themselves. So it's
the people who didn't end up taking the course.
They'll be like, oh, what is this product that you've used on so and so person? I was like, well, I've, you know, and coming from a fellow makeup artist, I mean, that's not cool, because we all have done, you know, your research, and you've done
the hard work of figuring it
out. And these are the same people who didn't want to sign up for a workshop because they were like, we know it all. And, you know.
No, that's why. I'm sorry, go ahead.
Yeah. But that's why I'm saying. And a lot of them don't invest in themselves. And that feeling complacent, I think that's where it kind of, you know, pretty much ends your, you know, game. Sure. At least for me, like, that's what I think. I've seen a lot of people right at the top of their game, and then the next thing you know, they're like out of work because they're doing the same thing that they did like in 2000 or 2005. They've not evolved.
I love everything you just said, and you know, maybe we can push the kind of Instagram, or just check out her Instagram to see lessons on how to run a proper makeup artist kind of digital marketing zone of,
it's not that good.
It's great in the sense of like, no, but to take us home, just recapping what you said, because there were so many things I wanted to say, but I've learned not to interrupt. But I love it because, number one, you know, what's way harder than getting to the top is staying at the top. Right. And the people, like you were saying, I probably shouldn't be admitting this, that I don't know this one technique, or I probably shouldn't be giving this away. I'm like, no, give it away, because they're not going to listen to this anyways. You know what I mean? Those same people who... Sandy is, you know, in her zone, in her industry, you know, in like the top of her game, doing a lot of these things, but she's not cold calling, but making 400 calls. Hell, a college kid who works at Mac or whatever is not even going to make 400 calls, but somebody who doesn't even need to is still doing that. And that's what's important, because nobody realizes the more you succeed, probably the harder you're going to work to keep succeeding. because like I hate it so much when people there was a study I was reading where they gave two groups of people, 10 guys here, 10 guys here, or 10 women, whatever, 10 people here and 10 people here. They gave them each an IQ test, okay? And the first group, they told them the scores after the IQ test. And it was a fairly easy test for that. So they told them that they have really high IQs. And the second group, they didn't tell them their scores. Now, they said, who wants to take the test again? The group who didn't know their scores were like, sure, we'll take it again if,
Right.
you know, we challenge ourselves. The group who already had this inflated sense of a high score did not want to take the test again because they didn't want to break their self-image of how cool and important they are.
Yeah.
Translation, you're a makeup artist who used to be cool doing DDLJ or whatever, but now you're just hanging on to that and you're refusing to go see some 32-year-old from New York teach you something.
Right.
You're holding on to that weird ego. And you're saying you see that consistently every day.
Every day. And I think now that you've said ego, that's, I think, the biggest thing that everyone needs to like work on. And
well, you guys work on people's heads, right? Yeah. God, I'm so bad with my jokes today. Yeah. Okay, go on. Yeah.
Yeah. So what was I talking about?
You think
the
ego? Yeah.
And
should we cut here? No, you guys be annoyed at me, but go on. Ego.
so ego, I think that's where it comes, you know, that pretty much, and bottom line, working on that is so important because I've met a lot of makeup and hair and other artists internationally, and I've realized that the bigger they've got, and these artists are the ones who are placed in the best agencies in the world. And I think that was an eye-opener also for me. Somehow, thanks to my job, I ended up working with them. And I realized that the bigger they were, and these are, like I said, they're with Streeters, which is the best agency for hair and makeup. And
it's like the CAA of makeup or something?
Yeah.
Okay.
And they were so down to earth. Whereas I think in India, it's like, the bigger you get, your egos get inflated, and it's like, you know, you're unapproachable, and then you become this larger than life person and celebrity, or I don't know what, and that comes with a lot of arrogance. And I think so for me, that was something that I wanted to keep, like, you know, at place in terms of like, no matter what, it's so important to remember your roots and stay grounded. Stay
rooted, L'Oreal. Yeah.
Stay rooted. A lot of punchlines.
Yeah. L'Oreal, if you're listening, we'll take your money. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
So I think that's another thing where a lot of them, especially in this digital world where you are seen and, you know, where you can be, it's pretty much like, you are a celebrity yourself, especially as hair and makeup artists. It's very easy to lose, you know, a perspective and think that you are the star yourself. And I think it's happened. Before you know that, clients stop calling you because you're either rude or, you know, you are the bigger diva to deal with as opposed to the actual celebrity. So I think that's also happened with a lot of people around, where they're like known for their bad behavior. And I think that comes with the fame that is attached to our job. So yeah, stay grounded.
Stay grounded. I think because this is a podcast episode of quotes, and I thought of the perfect one. I read that ego is just insecurity with makeup. I give that one to you. Guruji. Yeah, no, I wish it was mine, but it's from one of these books. But Sandy, any final parting words to anybody who's still listening, whether just somebody who's a hobbyist or an up-and-comer or somebody who wants to be in this industry?
Yes, actually lots, but I'll try to keep it short.
Yeah, you got 30 seconds before we hit an hour. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
I think it's very important to assist. I think in India, somehow people have got this in their mindset that makeup is a easy, you know, money-making job. It is when you're at the top, but it also comes with years of hard work. I've pretty much worked every day of my life for the first 7 years of, you know, being in this career, and it's physically very exhausting because you're standing for about 10 hours, 14 hours, everyone in the industry has a backache or a neck ache or, spondylitis. L4, L5 is a common issue.
What is that? Elbow?
Slip disc.
Okay.
Yeah. It's
what is that?
it's an industrial...
okay, it's like a something here.
Yeah,
Oh,
like a health thing. And a lot of them don't see that side of it, which is attached to it. And they only see our pictures with actresses. Oh, it's so glamorous. And it's like, you get to do this. So definitely it comes with its own thing of, hard work that you need to put in. And no one's going to give that to you in a platter. Assist when you start learning makeup or any of that. Assisting someone is so important. I still do that 10 years down the line. I mean, if I get an opportunity, like last year, I think in September, I went assisted Laurent for at New York Fashion Week. And for me, that was the greatest learning experience. I was like a 5-year-old, looking at everything. So that's something people are very hesitant about. Assisting, very, very, very important. And 3, I think stay grounded, most important, because never lose perspective of why you got into this job, which is very easy with this kind of job. Yeah.
Working in the scene and all that. Got it. Sandy, thanks so much. This was, we were supposed to do 30 minutes. We did an hour.
We did an hour.
It went pretty quick, I feel. Do you think it went good?
Yeah, it did. It seemed natural.
Yes, yes.
Forced.
And guys and girls and whoever is listening, please do comment away either in the YouTube clip of this or on whatever social media or podcast platform you are listening to. I want to thank Sandy so much. Sandhya Shekar.
Sandhya Shekar.
Sandhya Shekar. You can see your Instagram is what again? At what?
Sandhya Shekar.
There you go.
Yeah.
At Sandhya. Very creative. Yeah. Actually, it's very good brand recall. That is your name. So, Sandhya Shekar, thanks so much. I appreciate it. And guys, please comment any questions. Thanks.
Birdy num num. Birdy num num. Birdy num num.